It's interesting because growing up, I wasn't particularly into art making. So I think I was always a very creative child and a creative sort of teenager, and took art classes and things like that. But my main focus actually was more in sports. So I was a soccer player, and my family history, I grew up actually around pro football, which is a whole other sort of interesting conversation. And so it was more about the physicality sort of. That's how you sort of express yourself, right? But I also grew up around a lot of culture in terms of music and art and film, and just because of my parents' influence. So I ended up going to the University of Michigan for undergrad, and I kind of went in not even knowing what I wanted to study. There were moments when I thought I wanted to be a social worker. There were moments I thought I wanted to be an architect. But I went in sort of with a really open mind. But one thing that I really was interested in was either I was going to work at the radio station or I was going to work at the film festival.
Okay.
In Ann Arbor, and as a freshman, right?
Sure.
In college, and I just so happened to be driving by the Ann Arbor Film Festival office, and I pulled over and I kind of went in and I said, "Oh, I want to intern," and that's when it all started. So I hadn't ever really seen experimental film before. I wanted to learn more. But the minute I started working at that film festival, it changed my entire life. And that's sort of the basis of, okay, well, not only do I want to watch this type of work and engage with it, I want to make it. And so I really didn't start thinking about filmmaking as a kind of career path or as a trajectory until my freshman year of college.
It's so funny that you that is your story, because that's almost identical to my story as like getting into radio. I mean, the fact that you even said that it was like between radio and this film festival, because that's exactly what I did. I like showed up to college on the first day. I went to the public radio station on campus and I asked, "What do I have to do to work here?" And like I wasn't like my parents didn't listen to NPR. It wasn't like anything like that. It was just like, I feel like inclined to ask about this. And here I am still doing it.
Yeah.
So like, did you get to meet filmmakers, like professionals, through this internship? I mean, what was your first encounter with like a real life filmmaker?
What was cool was that right when I sort of started working for the film festival, the director at the time and the staff, we just really got along really well. So I sort of went above and beyond, and it was really involved from the beginning. What was really cool about those sort of early years was that I ended up becoming their sort of housing and hospitality coordinator. So it was really neat that I could engage with these filmmakers and these people coming into town for the festival and get to sort of know them. And then once festival week hit, I sort of could kind of already had these little relationships with these people and could see their work and then engage with them. And that was a very, formative experience. So I really think my first sort of engagement with the filmmakers that I wanted to learn more about was just kind of being around the festival, seeing these films. What's interesting about experimental film is you don't need a lot of resources. So, I mean, it can be a person who's working on a film in their basement for 10 years with zero money, and they come out with this sort of masterpiece that maybe not a lot of people even get to see, but it really is this sort of interesting expression from themselves that doesn't always have a place in the greater film world or the art world.
Sure.
And so to me, it was like kind of like meeting these filmmakers and being like, oh, you can make something really small, but it can have a really big impact on yourself, and then it can also have a big impact on other people. So yeah, I think, long story short, engaging with these filmmakers at the film festival specifically was kind of the first time I said, oh, people do this. People make a living. Not necessarily making the films. A lot of them are professors and teach in the university, or they have production jobs and things like that. Right. But people do this in the world.
When did you make your first film? I mean, was this, you said that you weren't really familiar with it until you got to college, and even then, through this work you were doing with this festival, it was like kind of hospitality, kind of hosting the folks who were coming. I mean, so what was your first foray? What did that look like?
Yeah, so when I was working for the festival and sort of getting to know the lay of the land with different professors and things that were available at the university. But my first production class, really where I was able to make the type of film that I wanted to make, was in a video art class with a professor named Terry Saris, who's a mentor still and a friend. And she was extremely influential on my own art practice and art making. And so I think the first film that I really sort of, in college you're making group projects, you're kind of exploring different genres with these like intro production classes. But really, once I could do that video art class, I ended up making an in-camera edit little film called Imperfect, and it was the first time that I had control. I didn't have to kind of deal with the parameters of an assignment. I also, even though I love narrative film and love literature and things that tell a story and have characters and all of that, I don't want to make it.
Yeah.
I love to consume it. I love to teach it, when I was teaching, but I don't want to, if I wanted to make narrative film, I would be in Hollywood right now.
Sure. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's a very different trajectory. But the type of film that I sort of was drawn to were these sort of like smaller, sort of personal projects that really expressed a feeling that, or trying to answer something inside of me that I had a question and I needed to answer it. And so really it was that, I think that was freshman year as well, second semester, maybe sophomore year, when I truly was able to kind of like get my hands on the equipment. There was, an assignment, but I was able to kind of have freedom in that class for the first time.
Yeah, I think when we're first starting out, it's like this whole idea of creating a feeling around a work. That's like, I don't remember ever talking about that in a class, but that's like such a huge part of what I feel like I do in my music. Is it's how do you just create a feeling? So I don't know. I mean, is that like something that you kind of realized and then ran with? I mean, is that still a part of what you do today?
Absolutely. I mean, it's really just kind of like an internal kind of, so like I said before, you have this question, you have this feeling, you have this something that you want to express, something that you need to work out. And film and video specifically, I think I'm drawn to it because it uses so many different media. So it's not just composition, it's not just light and camera, but there is music, there's sound, there's duration. So it's not something still, but there's something that you can play with time. And so, for some reason, I was just sort of drawn to all the different options. And specifically, when I talk about my work, but I also try to teach experimental filmmaking and filmmaking, it's really what I try to get across to students is it's just a series of choices. That's all art making is.
Yeah.
Do you shoot it in color or black and white? Do you shoot it in a 4x3 or 16x9? Do you use this camera or that camera, this lens or that lens, silent or not silent? It's just a series of these choices, right?
Right.
And it can go in so many different ways. And there's always, Terry, my mentor, would always say, there's always the film you meant to make, and then the film you actually make.
Right.
And that's with all art making.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Micromaker by Loose Leaf Transmissions. We hope you enjoyed this brief glimpse into the inner workings of the creative life. If this resonated with you, be sure to check out the full conversation on Music Maker with Tyler Kline, a podcast exploring craft and process, philosophy and inspiration, and the honest, often messy parts of being an artist, creative uncertainty, purpose and identity, and resilience. You can find Music Maker wherever you get your podcasts or by visiting musicmakerpodcast.com.